Yashodanandana Brajajanaranjana Yamuna Thiravanachari Yamuna Pavikarajacharya Shruta Shatashi Shimad, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki, Srimad Bhagavatam Ki. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So, reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 3, Text 3, the Lord Pastimes out of Vrindavan. Okay, Sanskrit. So, Samahutaha,
Samahutaha,
Bhishmaka,
Bhishmaka,
Kanyaya,
Kanyaya,
Ye, Shayaha,
Shrayaha,
Savarnena,
Sarnena,
Ubushaya,
Ushaya,
Isham,
Esham,
Gandharva,
Gandharva,
Ritya,
Vidya,
Mishatam,
Ishatam,
Svabhagam,
Svabhagam,
Jahre,
Jahre,
Padam,
Padam,
Mordhini,
Murdhni,
Dadhat,
Dadhat,
Suparnaha,
Swarnaha,
Samahuta Bhishmaka Kanyayaye,
Samahita Bhishmaka Kanyayaye,
Shriya Savarnena Bhubhushayaisham,
Shriya Savarnena Bhubhushayaisham,
Gandharva Vitya Mishetam Svabhagam,
Gandharva Vidya Vishitam Svabhagam,
Jare Padam Mordhini Dadhat Suparnaha,
Jare Padam Murdhni Dadat Suparnaha,
Samahuta Bhishmaka Kanyayaye,
Samahita Bhishmaka Kanyayaye,
Shriya Savarnena Bhubhushayaisham,
Shriya Savarnena Bhubhushayaisham,
Gandharva Gandharva Vitya Mishitam Svabhagam
Gandharva Vidya Mishitam Subhagam
Chare Padamurdini Dadat Suparnaha
Jagre Padam Murni Dadat Suparnaha
Samahuta Bhishmaka Kanyayaye
Samahita Bhishmaka Kanyayaye
Shriya Savarnena Bubhusayaisham
Shriya Savarnena Bhushayaisham
Gandharva Vitya Mishitam Sabhagam
Gandharva Vidya Mishitam Subhagam
Chare Padam Murdin Dadat Suparnaha
Jagre Padam Murni Dadat Suparnaha Samahita Bhishmaka Kanyayaye Shriya Savarnena Bhushayaisham Gandharva Vidya Mishitam Subhagam Jare Padam Murni Dadat Suparnaha Samahita Bhishmaka Kanyayaye Shriya Savarnena Bhushayaisham Gandharva Vidya Mishitam Svabhagam Jahre Padam Murtni Dadat Suparnaha
Samahuta Bhishmakaya Kanyayaye
Samahita Bhishmaka Kanyayaye
Shriya Savarnena Bhushayashayam
Shriya Savarnena Bhushayaisham
Gandharva Vidya Mashitam Swabhagam
Gandharva Vidya Mishitam Svabhagam
Jare Padam Murdani Dadat Puranaha
Jade Padam Murni Dadat Suparnaha Samahita Bhishmaka Kanyayaye Shriya Savarnena Bhushayaisham Gandharva Vidya Mishitam Svabhagam Dadat Suparnaha Samahita Bhishmaka Kanyayaye Shriya Savarnena Bhushayaisham Gandharva Vidya Mishitam Svabhagam Jagre Padam Murni Dadat Suparnaha
What did you
Samahita Bhishmaka Kanyayaye Shriya Savarnena Bhushayaisham Gandharva Vidya Mishitam Svabhagam Jagre Padam Murtni Dadat Suparnaha Bhishmaka Kanyayaye Shriya Savarnena Bhushayaisham Gandharva Vidya Mishitam Svabhagam Jare Padam Murtni Dadat Suparnaha Samahita Bhishmaka Kanyayaye Shriya Savarnena Bhushayaisham Gandharva Vidya Mishitam Svabhagam Jare Padam Murtni Dadat Suparnaha
Okay. Word for word. Samahutaha
Samahutaha
divided.
Divided
Bhishmaka
Bhishmaka
King Bhishmaka
King Bhishmaka
Kanyaya
Nyaya
by the daughter.
by the daughter
Yea,
Yea
all those.
all those
Shreyaha,
Shriyaha,
fortune.
fortune.
Okay. Anyways, this is misspelled in this book. Sorry about that. There's no I there. Savarnena,
Savarnena,
by a similar sequence.
by similar sequence.
Bubushaya,
Ushaya,
expecting to be so.
expecting to be so.
Isham,
Yesham,
of them.
of them.
Gandharva,
Gandharva,
marrying.
and marrying.
Ritya,
Vidya,
by such a custom.
by such a custom.
Mishatam,
Mishatam,
carrying so.
so.
Sabhagam,
Svabhagam,
own share.
own share.
Jahre,
Jahre,
took away.
took away.
Padam,
Padam,
beat.
feet.
Mordini,
Mordini,
on the head.
head.
Dadhat,
Dadhat,
placed.
placed.
Suparnaha,
Suvarnaha,
Garuda.
Garuda.
Alright, translation and purport by Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki. Attracted by the beauty and fortune of Rukmini, the daughter of King Bhishmaka, many great princes and kings assembled to marry her. But Lord Krishna, stepping over the other hopeful candidates, carried her away as his own share, as Garuda carried away nectar. Princess Rukmini, the daughter of King Bhishmaka, was actually as attractive as fortune itself, because she was as valuable as gold, both in color and in value. Since the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, is the property of the Supreme Lord, Rukmini was actually meant for Lord Krishna. But Shishupal was selected as her bridegroom by Rukmini's elder brother, although King Bhishmaka wanted his daughter to be married to Krishna. Rukmini invited Krishna to take her away from the clutches of Shishupal. So when the bridegroom, Shishupal, came there with his party with the desire to marry Rukmini, Krishna all of a sudden swept her from the scene, stepping over the heads of all the princes there, just as Garuda carried away nectar from the hands of the demons. This incident will be clearly explained in the 10th canto. Om Jnana Timanandasya Garanjanjana Salakaya Chakshrodan Manitamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Vishnam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupargadamayam Dadati Svapanan Shri Guru Shukta Anatamam Shri Guru Vaishnam Shah Shri Rupam Sagaratam Sahajanaradanatam Shrivam Sadvaitam Sadhutam Prijana Saritam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishnapadan Sahajananaritam Shri Vishakamitam Shah Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimante Bhakti Vikas Swamini Tinamane Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimante Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Tinamane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaudavani Pacharine Nivishesha Shunivadi Pasikatari Satarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Samahutam Bhishmaka Kanyayaye Shriya Savarnena Bhuvushaya Isham Gandharva Vitya Mishitam Sabhagam Jare Padam Mordin Dadat Suparnaha. Attracted by the beauty and fortune of Rukmini, the daughter of King Bhishmaka, many great princes and kings assembled to marry her. Well, Lord Krishna, stepping over the other hopeful candidates, carried her away as his own share, as Garuda carried away nectar. So, continuing in this part, so the beginning of this chapter, more or less, it started off with the killing of Kamsa. So Krishna going to Mathura. And so that's been discussed in previous classes that when Krishna left Vrindavan, then the second division of his pastimes began, where more opulence has manifested, and a lot of opulence has manifested, as we'll see later. But establishing Dwarka, a city in the middle of the sea, and then also marrying so many thousands and thousands of women, and also getting his eternal weapons and things like that. We see that when, I believe it was after Krishna killed Kamsa, he went outside to fight Jarasandha because Jarasandha was fried out. Jarasandha was angry because Krishna killed his uncle, which is against Vedic injunctions, but then all of Jarasandha's daughters, I believe, or was it his daughters or his relatives or something? But anyways, those women that were married to Kamsa and such, they were related, and so he was angry about that. Now they went back to Jarasandha, and they were widows. So he was mad. So he came there to fight with Krishna. And so, anyways, when Krishna came out, then this chariot and different weapons were there, and so Krishna took up weapons. Previously in Vrindavan, Krishna wasn't using, sword, shield, bow and arrow, and things like that. He was just, killing demons with his mystic potency or with his hands. So, the flavor in Krishna's pastimes changed a little bit, and so this chapter here will delineate that Krishna's pastimes in Mathura and Dwarka. So this pastime here is significant because this is Krishna marrying his first queen, and so Krishna, went to Dwarka, but as a Kshatriya and as a ruler, is generally not advised. I don't think it is advised, but so one has to be married. One can't, rule the world as a brahmachari. That was point was made with Priyavrata Maharaj in the 5th canto, and there's different reasons for that, but it's one's. That's the Dharma according to that position. Anyways, I don't know the intricacies of that, but that's just understood. And there isn't any examples like that. And there was also that examples given with Bhishma Dev, when he vowed to be a brahmachari because one of the I can't remember the guy's name, but in order for his father to marry one particular girl, the father of that girl wanted the son to be the king, and so in order to, then he was saying, well, one of your descendants will, or this or that, or you'll become the king. And so he vowed to stay a brahmachari so that would end the lineage. So I guess the point of the king getting married is to have sons to continue on the lineage. So that is there. Krishna married Rukmini, and so it's important to know, and it's an important point. So the Rukmini is the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi. She's not some material personality or whatever, or someone influenced by the modes of material nature. She's completely transcendental. She is. It's described in the. I think one of the acharyas make the point, but the different queens in Dwarka, the principal queens, and some of the other ones also are expansions of gopis in Vrindavan. So it's not just some ordinary personality or anything like that. So the reason that that's important is, of course, Krishna's transcendental. So then the pastimes and dealings between them are transcendental. They're not material. So it's not just some man and woman falling in love and some mundane romance story. It's nothing like that at all. This is a display of the Supreme Personality of Godhead interacting with his internal potency. So there's nothing mundane about that. It's completely pure, and her attraction to Krishna and Krishna's attraction to her is also completely pure. And so these pastimes are there for Krishna's pleasure, but also simultaneously to teach us and show us and to attract us. So this pastime began, so after Krishna, so I believe it's described as, so Krishna fought with Jarasandha 17 times, and on the 18th time he just left. And so that pastime is there with Ranchor. So Krishna ran up that mountain, and Jarasandha set it ablaze, then Krishna jumped off of it. And so I believe it's described that Krishna had some important business to attend to, and he knew that it was time to marry Rukmini soon. So Krishna went back to Dwarka, and in Dwarka, one Brahmin came on the plea of Rukmini. So it's described that Rukmini, she heard about Krishna from different like sages and Narnamuni and things that would visit Bhishmaka's palace. And so they would go there and they would talk and different things, and then naturally she heard about Krishna and became attracted. And so she set a Brahmin to go and speak to Krishna. And I'll just read some parts from that there. But let's see here. So she wrote some letter, and then that's described. That's a very nice letter. And so this Brahmin, I'll just read part of this here. So reaching the gate of Dwarka, the Brahmana informed the doorkeeper of his arrival, and the doorkeeper led him to the place where Krishna was sitting on a gold throne. Since the Brahmana had the opportunity to be Rukmini's messenger, he was fortunate enough to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, the original cause of all causes. So I was thinking also with that is that's, I mean, it might just slip right over your head just reading the book. When I read that, I was thinking that the one who is a servitor of the devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they also get a chance to see Krishna also. That this Brahmana was serving on behalf of Rukmini, and it wasn't that he was bereft of anything, that he personally got to see the Personality of Godhead also. A Brahmana is a spiritual teacher of all social divisions. Lord Sri Krishna, in order to teach everyone the Vedic etiquette, how to respect a Brahmana, immediately got up and offered him his throne. When the Brahmana was seated on the golden throne, Lord Krishna began to worship him exactly as the demigods worship Krishna. In this way, he taught everyone that worshiping his devotee is more valuable than worshiping him. So it's also an important point. So anyways, this Brahmana reads the letter that Rukmini wrote, and pretty much, you know, the more or less the sum total of the letter is that, like, she's in love with Krishna, and you need to come and kidnap me immediately. That's kind of like the essence of the letter. And so there's a lot that can be said about that. And so anyways, she's intelligent, and Prabhupada makes a point in the purports that she was daughter of a Kshatriya, so she kind of like knew politics and things like that. She was smart. And so she made the point, okay, like, you know, I'm attracted to you. I need you to come and kidnap me. They're trying to force me to marry Shishupal, and then this is how you can do it. So, and she gave like the secret plans and how for her to be kidnapped. And and it was a big thing actually. So then Prabhupada makes a point in this purport that Rukmini's elder brother, so Rukmi, he was somehow or other he didn't like Krishna. And so anyways, it's like some transcendental soap opera or something like that, all these different personalities and then how it all kind of works together. But Rukmi was, you know, he just didn't like Krishna, and everybody like thought it was a good idea that Rukmini should marry Krishna, but Rukmi was against it, and he was the elder brother, so he had like some sway and some opinion and some force. We also see that in the past time with, I don't even remember the name, but there's the story with Sakshi Gopal. And then that young boy comes with the older Brahmana. And so the older Brahmana tells them, you know, I vow that I'll marry my daughter to you. And then they go back, and then it doesn't happen immediately because the older brother, you know, makes a big flip out about it. And the whole family, like, you know, they're fried out. Because that boy was from a poor family, and that Brahmana was from more of like a higher class family, or a richer family, I believe. So they weren't into it. And so anyways, that older brother like tried to manipulate the situation. So sometimes that happens in families' dealings, that like what part of the family is fired up about Krishna consciousness and the other one's not fired up. And then they try to manipulate the situation. So Rukmi tried to do that in a similar way. Tried to marry Krishna off to Shishupal, which was probably about as far off as you could get, because Shishupal was completely against Krishna. 100%. It was his practice was just in blaspheming Krishna, as we hear so many times. And he, you know, and we see later in the the Rajasuya sacrifice, that he just went off and was just criticizing Krishna left, right, and center about everything, and saying different things that, you know, nobody knows what Krishna's varna is. He's an outcast, and then the Acharyas bring out the point that Krishna is an outcast in the sense that he doesn't belong to any caste. He doesn't have any material designations. So anyway, so this was the wonderful idea of Rukmi. And so the Brahmana read that letter and pretty much said that, like, you have to act quick, because it's like, you know, now's the time. It wasn't really like Krishna had so much time to think about it, the whole situation. You know, like, well, let me like wait a couple days and think if I really want to do this or whatever. It was like, you know, he read that letter and like, either you do this or you don't do this right now. And of course, Krishna reveals after the Brahmana read this letter that similarly, like, he also wants to marry Rukmini. And he makes the point, actually, he reveals that he's having trouble sleeping at night because he's so attracted to her. which is amazing actually. Krishna's losing sleep thinking of Rukmini, and similarly she's also thinking of him. And so, so he thinks, okay, we have to act now. And so he orders his chariot and all that things to get ready, and then he goes immediately to the kingdom of Bhishmaka. And so it's described also, and anyways, I've done this calculation before. So Prabhupada makes the point that that it was no less than 1,000 miles from Dwarka at least, and it took Krishna at most about 12 hours to get there. So that means that, if you do the math, that Krishna's horses were traveling about 80 miles per hour. And so, and anyways, if you look up nowadays, horses don't run that fast. But anyways, we can understand that in previous time that, of course, Krishna had some amazing horses. If he wants to, those horses could travel the speed of light. There's no constrictions with Krishna. I mean, I think he took him and Arjuna took that chariot to outer space, and they went to go find Mahavishnu. So those aren't ordinary horses. But the point that I was thinking was, anyways, that people in previous times, they could travel just as fast as we can on the highway. They weren't like limited in that sense if they needed to get somewhere quick. And so he got there quick, and his horses had that energy and they were stronger and things like that. Anyways, some little detail. So Krishna arrives, and after Krishna leaves, Balaram also, he kind of catches word, and then he takes some of the soldiers, because he knows there's going to be a fight. And so he leaves after Krishna. So in the city, all the preparations are getting for marriage and thing like that. And it's a big deal, actually. It's not just like, whatever. There's tons of people I'm sure there's tons of people on the planet getting married today. It's their big wedding day, one of the biggest events in their life for some people, or maybe a series of big events, or maybe an economic disaster, according to some people in society, with divorce and things. But anyways, so many people are getting married, but it's nobody. Anyways, who cares? But the thing is that it's a big deal when, especially in a kingdom, when the princess get married or the prince gets married, and in the kingdom, naturally, there's affinity for those different people, and for the prince and the queen, and all those different things for the royal family. And we see that also. I mean, with so many examples, especially in Ayodhya, with Dasaroth, all the citizens loved him and cared for him so much. And then similarly, Ramachandra and also his brothers. There's high affinity for the royal family. And just like I was telling you the other day, that in that book, what is that? The Art of War. The point is mentioned there that one of the points I mentioned, at least I heard that in school, that they asked, is it better for a king or a ruler to be feared or to be loved? And so the conclusion of that warrior or politician is that it's better for the king to be feared, because if they love you, then they'll just stab you in the back. And so if they fear you, they'll never stab you in the back, because they'll be so scared of you. They will never dare to try to assassinate you. But as we learn from Srimad Bhagavatam, that actually the king and the rulers, they're to be loved by the citizens. Of course, there's fear there from people who have sinful tendencies in their heart to be afraid of breaking the law and things like that. But it wasn't the government. It wasn't that people were scared for their lives. They were protected, and they felt that, and they understood that. And so naturally, someone who's pious and pure at heart, they won't think of trying to kill the king. But of course, the king has his ministers and spies and all these different things, and this whole way he administers the kingdom to make sure things are okay. Because of course, there's always other kings and people in other kingdoms that want to conquer him. But anyways, the kings in the royal family, they were loved and respected by the citizens. And so similarly, they were very much happy that Rukmini was getting married. And there was also some talk, actually. So all the preparations are getting made. And then there was some understanding that, somehow word got out that Krishna might be coming. So there was, what's it called? Anyways, nowadays they joke, there was an intelligence disaster, that there was this inkling that Krishna might come. But anyway, so they were thinking that way, and there was some talk about that. I believe amongst the princes, because there was Jarasandha was there, Shishupal was there, I think Salva was there also. There was other kings from other countries and other rulers. Everybody was desirous to marry her. They were fired up about that. So anyway, so there's so many different things going on. So you have Krishna's anxiously coming to the kingdom, and then also Balaram is following behind to protect him. And the kings are there, they're hearing Krishna might come, and they're worried about that, so they're ready. And Rukmi's, dead set on marrying Krishna Rukmini to Shishupal, and Shishupal's there, and he's happy about it like anything. And then Rukmini's worried and anxious because she wants to marry Krishna, and she's also simultaneously too, she's doubting whether he's going to come or not because the Brahmana's not here. She's thinking, will he come, will he not come? I don't really know. So she's in anxiety, a lot of anxiety actually, because for her actually it's a big deal, because actually not just in Vedic times, but in life, the person you marry, that affects a big part of how your life goes actually. Whether that's going, and especially if you marry a person who has different ideas or different goals, and you kind of get sucked and dragged into that. So what to speak, she'll have to marry Shishupal, whose whole existence is just to criticize Krishna, who she loves, and so it becomes this love disaster. And so she's worried about that, and she's anxious and doubting. And she's wondering, did I do something wrong? Did I offend the demigods? Like what is going on? And things like that. She's thinking in that way. So and then eventually this Brahmana appears, and auspicious symptoms appear in her body, and she's excited and happy. And so the Brahmana comes and pretty much says, Krishna has come, and don't worry, pretty much don't worry, everything's okay, like that. And so she's excited and she's happy and everything's great now, it's perfect, everything worked out according to plan. So Krishna's there, and then Krishna and Balaram are there, and they're received, and the general people actually, they think that this is actually a perfect match of Rukmini and Krishna, so they're very happy about it, and they go there and they go to see Krishna and Balaram like that, and then they also think how beautiful Krishna is, how attractive he is. This will be wonderful. So they're very excited and they're very happy about it. They're not thinking, they're not envious or whatever it is. They're excited because that devotion is there and that affinity is there for the royal family. So things go as planned. So Rukmini goes to the temple, and then she goes to I believe a Durga temple, and so that's like the tradition in that family, I believe. And so there's different mantras that are chanted and things like that. And then so while they're worshiping Durga, she's not praying for anything material. She's praying for Krishna to be for her husband. And so Srila Prabhupada makes the point in the purport. I don't have it up here, but pretty much he makes the point that that because she's praying for something spiritual for Krishna as her husband, that's okay. And it's not like she's not worshiping the demigods for material motives. He makes that point. So anyway, she's praying in that way, and then she leaves the the temple. And so when she leaves the temple, it seems like that's the first time that all these kings and all these princes that are finally the first time they see her. So they see her and they just go crazy in lust. It's described that they started falling off the horses and things like that. It was just wild. They were so lusty. As sometimes we joke and say, you lusty dog. So they were lusty in that sense. And then there's sometimes too, in cartoons, it's at least I've seen that growing up. There might be some pretty girl, then the person's face becomes like a dog and starts howling. So that was kind of the scene that was going on. They were just going crazy over Rukmini. And she was just whatever. She didn't care. She wasn't into it. She wasn't thinking all these men are looking at me and blushing and she wasn't into the whole attention thing of them lusting after her. She was simply just thinking where's Krishna at? And so anyways, you can see, so at every single step of this whole Leela, there's so many different things going on. It's also described too that she's the goddess of fortune, so she was extremely beautiful, and it's mentioned a little bit here in the purport, and she was also young. I believe it's described that she was 12 or 13 years old. But she's a queen also, so Kshatriya descendants are usually more beautiful than other caste because that just kind of like that karma comes with that. Of course, she's transcendental, but she's what's coming, and for pastime, she's taking birth as the daughter of a Kshatriya and displaying that. And so she comes out, everybody's, going crazy, falling off their horses and things like that. And let me see if I have that here. Maybe I can read some of that. Oh yeah, so I can actually read this. This is very nice. Let's see here. I don't think this is it. Oh, I think it's at the end of this chapter. Sorry, just want to read this exactly. Okay, yeah, here it is. So I'll just read a little bit from this here. So this is when she comes out of the temple. So the Civilist princes assembled there were so overwhelmed by Rukmini's beauty that they became almost unconscious and fell from their horses and elephants. Full of lust, they hopelessly desired Rukmini's hand, comparing their own beauty to hers. Srimati Rukmini, however, was not interested in any of them. In her heart, she was simply expecting Krishna to come and carry her away. As she was adjusting the ornaments on a finger of her left hand, she happened to look upon the princes and suddenly saw that Krishna was present amongst them. Although Rukmini had never before seen Krishna, she was always thinking of him. Thus, she had no difficulty recognizing him amongst the princely order. So it was the first time she saw Krishna right there amongst that assembly. And so she saw and she was thinking, oh, this is Krishna, assuming from all the different descriptions she heard from like Narada Muni and things like that, of Krishna's different features and things. So she finally like saw him. And then, so Krishna, unconcerned with the other princes, immediately took the opportunity to place Rukmini on his chariot marked by a flag bearing an image of Garuda. He then proceeded slowly, without fear, taking Rukmini away exactly as a lion takes a deer from the midst of jackals, while Balaram appeared on the scene with the soldiers of the Yadu dynasty. Then Jarasandha, who many times experienced defeat by Krishna, roared, "How is this? Krishna is taking Rukmini away from us without opposition. What is the use of our being civilist fighters with arrows? My dear princess, just look. We are losing our reputation. He is just like a jackal taking booty from a lion." So there's different things to mention there. So that whole scene. So they were, all crazy about Rukmini, and they were thinking that she's a perfect. Anyway, there's so many princesses there, and the only one person's going to get her. But then we was thinking, well, I'll actually get her. So anyways, there's also an exhibition of the ego, think that I'm entitled, that I'm, she's very beautiful and I'm also very attractive, so we're a perfect match and things like that. And even though it was described that she was to be married to Shishupal, even still the other princesses there are still thinking like, I might try to do something here. So it's like that, was it honesty amongst thieves or things like that. So everybody just anxious just to pounce, just go. And then Krishna comes and just they're all just completely dumbfounded, and just Krishna just takes her away and just whatever. Just, what is it? He proceeds slowly without fear. So he just kind of just comes and just takes it, not worrying about anything, Rukmini, and then just goes. It wasn't like he anyway, it must be an amazing sight to see. But he just comes, just goes, and just not just kind of heads out, and that's all right. And then they're just what the heck is this? They're so angry. And then Jarasandha makes that point. He compares Krishna to a jackal taking booty from a lion. But I believe also previously the inverse is given that whatever with the sense of them that Krishna was like a lion. He took the booty away as from these jackals. So I don't know if that's mentioned actually in these next couple paragraphs, but anyways, but that point's there. So Jarasandha was already fried out at Krishna because he's thinking Krishna does some useless Kshatriya because he's puffed up at that point. Because he so-called defeated Krishna once. So anyway, so he kind of has that nature that he's bringing into this whole thing already, and he's there's Krishna, and then he was probably also too. And anyways, he heard word about it. Krishna ran away, but he wasn't sure if he was alive or dead because he burned that whole mountain.
But then now it's like for sure that Krishna's alive and he's here and he's a coward because he ran away from me like that. So anyway, so this happens. So Krishna takes Rukmini and goes away. And then the fight happens. And then so there's a fight between all these different princesses and kings and the Yadu dynasty and Balaram. And so that whole thing happens. So there's a fight and everything. And then it's see that pretty much like Shishupal doesn't do anything. He kind of just stands there and it's just like he's depressed and he's, he just kind of, he doesn't do anything. He just kind of stands there and everybody's fighting. And then eventually they stop because they see, well, heck, he's not doing anything. It's his wife. So anyways, she's gone and then they're not into it anymore. And they're like, well, why are we fighting? And then it's like, anyways, he's not doing anything. He's supposed to marry her. And they were just like, forget it. And then they all kind of like dispersed and left. And, then Shishupal was just kind of there. But anyways, you could, not that we want to empathize with Shishupal, but for him that was a tragedy because that was like, he was so fired up about that and then probably think, well, it's perfect, Krishna wants to marry her and then I'm going to marry her instead and I'll fry out Krishna. So that was a horrible thing for him. But anyways, who cares about Shishupal? So it's like, it's a tragedy for them. And sometimes it's like that in life, actually, that like some person comes out victorious and amazing on top, big celebration, and then someone else is a whole tragedy and their life is ruined and shattered. But who cares with all the celebration and things like that? That was there also, we see that in Ramayana with Manthara, that Lord Ramachandra was to get coordinated as king, and she didn't like that at all. She was fried out. And then she got KK on board with that. So the whole city's happy about Lord Ramachandra's coordination, but except 2 people. And then anyways, that happens in the material world also. But that was his position. But anyways, Krishna's great and amazing and like that. And so we're celebrating that. And anyways, maybe some, envious person can write a book about from the perspective of Shishupal. Just like they say sometimes that Ravana is the hero in the Ramayana. It's crazy people in this day and age. Insane. So anyways, that was a horrible thing for Shishupal, but it was an amazing thing for Krishna. And so anyway, so after that, Rukmini's fried out, and he can't believe what happened. He tried to avoid this whole thing. He tried to stop it, but he wasn't able to stop it. So one point is that we may have so many plans in our life or so many different things to do, but the thing is that when Krishna desires something or he wants something to happen, there's nothing that we can do to stop it. Just like Rukmini was thinking, I'll do this and do that, and manipulate. He did some things in his family, some politics, and thinking that, well, for sure Krishna's not going to have that. And then all those kings were there, and they were thinking this, that, and the other thing. But when Krishna wants something to happen, there's nothing that can be stopped. Then we also see too that Krishna reciprocated with Rukmini, that she had that desire, and he brought this plan to action and personally went there to save his devotee. They were eternally related, of course, and this is their pastime. But anyways, I'll speak a little bit more about that later. So anyways, so Rukmini's fried out, and so he goes and gets his chariot and all that stuff, and then goes in pursuit of Krishna. And so, anyways, he's chasing behind Krishna and just saying, stop, fight me. And so anyways, he's shooting arrows and things like that, and there's some fight between the two. And Krishna neutralizes Rukmini. And so then he goes to actually kill him. And then Rukmini, she, as Prabhupada says, displays her womanly nature, and she doesn't want her brother to be killed on the day of her wedding. And so she, pleads to Krishna, don't kill him, let him live. And so Krishna, what he does instead, as Holiness Bhakti Vikas Maharaj makes a point, he gave Rukmini a punk haircut. And so this is one thing. Anyways, one time you gave that guy a bad haircut or whatever, and he was freaking out. Anyways, that's a whole other story. But if someone gets a bad haircut, somebody has a bad hair day. Then he let people say that, whatever, that I had a bad hair day or got a bad haircut, and it's like ruins people's lives. You can just imagine, if half your hair is missing, it's like you'll wear a hat if someone's shaving at a time they're not supposed to be shaving, and you make them stop, then they may wear a hat because of the patches of their head. Or sometimes we see it too, if Brahmacharya tries to shave his head and it's really bad. It's like patches here and there. Everybody's laughing at him. So what to speak? So Rukmi was humiliated, actually. I mean, he was just, and his mustache is here and there. He looked like a fool. And so Krishna just like, all right, and then like, get out of here. And so the first thing you want to do in a situation like that is make sure nobody sees you and then like, shave the rest of your head and make it look symmetrical. And so it was a disaster. It was a fashion failure. So he was shocked. And then we see that too. And different societies actually, there's like different like, I wouldn't say tortures, but punishments. And like for instance, one thing they used to do to people, they would like, if somebody done something like really bad or abominable, they would like, I forget exactly how they would do it, but they would cover that person, I think, in like glue or some type of like adhesive, and then they would put feathers all on that person. Yeah, tar. So the thing is that person would have feathers all on themselves. So it was like obvious, like everybody knew like that guy screwed up. And like it was just like known, it's like he screwed up and like everybody saw, and then it was like practically you were like exiled like within the community. And then everybody just knew like, oh, he messed up. So that was like that. So Krishna kind of like, he really humiliated Rukmi. And then so Balaram comes up after that and like, what the heck did you do to him, bro? Like he's our relative, and like you're marrying him, and like, look at him, bro. Like, what did you do to him? So sometimes it's like that, and it's just like, and then Rukmi's also, he's not like fired up about it. It's just like he's humiliated, he's tied up. It's like the worst thing that you can do, because the thing is like Rukmi, he's a Kshatriya, so there's like that prestige and that honor there, and he gave his word that like, I'm gonna bring Rukmini back. I'm going to defeat Krishna. I'm never coming back to this city. And so he was defeated, and that's already like, oh man, I can't go back to my city. And then now I'm humiliated. And then Balaram comes and just like, why did you do this to him? Like, like he's like, what is going on? And then he explains it, and kind of like the situation's chilled out. And then, so then Krishna goes to Dwarka, and there he marries Rukmini in great pomp. And so that's described there like that. And then, the auspicious time, of course, was there and things like that. Krishna sets out the Vedic injunctions. For the most part, Krishna follows them. Sometimes he doesn't follow them, but for the most part, he follows the Vedic injunctions. And so he married her. And then it was a great pomp, and all these different, there was, I think, banana trees there, and there was elephants roaming about, and they were ripping up stuff, and that's like considered a good sign. And then there was pots filled with water. That's considered auspicious. That point was mentioned with Sandipani Muni. Krishna learned the art of omens. What is that? I think, is that Nimitta? Yeah, Nimitta Gyan. So so all these auspicious things were there. And everybody was happy. Krishna's getting married. Like I said, everybody's happy, but not everybody's happy, because I was reading previously, I don't know if I read that there, but the rasa, in Vrindavan, some people aren't so fired up about Krishna getting married and Krishna being in Dwarka, because the women over in Dwarka and the Mathura and all of them, they're like sophisticated like women and this and that, and so in Vrindavan, we see that also when Krishna goes to Kurukshetra, they like Krishna, but the mood of Krishna in Dwarka, they just rather he just kind of loses all that opulence and just come back to Vrindavan. So Krishna's married in great pomp, and it's a big celebration, and everybody's happy and excited, and so that's the story of Krishna's marriage. And so this verse here is, it's just a couple sentences, but all these different things are made. It's told in short, meditating upon all these pastimes and the qualities of like that. And so so many different things. What is it? Janman Yasyato. What you see, everything emanates from the absolute truth. So it's similarly all these different stories about, boy and girl fall in love, or a princess and a queen, all these different things like that, or princess gets like kidnapped. These things originate actually within the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is the origin in which it's found. What we see in the world and things like that, it's just, what is this? Urdham Mula Madha Shakam. It's just a perverted reflection. So this pastime and this that happened. So it's a reflection. We can understand that also. There's some other point I was going to make, but it completely slipped my mind. So to kind of make the point again. So this interaction. I remember now. So Krishna also and Rukmini, another perspective of it too. And I was thinking about this actually, and then I heard a class by Bhakti Vikash Maharaj, and he made the point actually I was thinking about. So that was kind of good confirmation. So Krishna married all these different 16,108 princesses to be exact. And so he was making the point that we see that Krishna married Rukmini, then he married Satyabhama, and they're two completely different personalities. Rukmini's like, submissive and like quiet and like reserved. Satyabhama is like rowdy and, like she argues with Krishna and like fights with him a little bit. Like that's her personality. And that's what Krishna likes. So anyways, they're two completely different personalities. And so His Holiness Bhakti Vikash Maharaj is making the point that Krishna was, able to match with them all. He didn't say this exactly, but astrologically he was able to fit all of those different individuals. And he explained that the reason for that is Krishna's all attractive, that he's able to completely complement every single living entity in creation. It's not that, they went and they checked the charts and like, oh, this is going to be a bad marriage. It's going to be a disaster, like you guys are completely like incompatible. Don't get married. So it wasn't like that with any of the women that Krishna married. It's completely compatible with them all. And then also too, he expanded himself with each and every single wife. And so he was in that palace with them and interacting with them. And then they similarly too, they weren't dissatisfied thinking that, that Krishna is, hanging out with like this wife and I'm jealous, he's not giving me enough attention. So that happened there with, anyways, it's transcendental. But with Satyabhama, when Krishna gave the Parijata flower to Rukmini, then he went and got her the whole tree. So like that's there. And so they're not thinking, oh, he loves this wife more than he loves me, or he's being partial or impartial or whatever. So they all are there with Krishna, and they're thinking that, Krishna is here with me, giving me his sole attention. They're completely happy and completely satisfied. So that is made there. Krishna's transcendental. He can do that. And so also, too, this is Krishna's pastime. So Krishna is eternally, this is going on of Krishna, meeting Rukmini and then this interaction between them and then marrying them and things like that. So Krishna is, like for most people, like I was saying before, the marriage is a big day in their life. And so the Krishna doesn't just get married once, he's eternally getting married. So he has an eternal marriage. It's not just like one time and then that's it. For people in their life, they get married once generally and then that's it. So Krishna is eternally getting married. This is his pastime. And he likes to get married in this way, and so he goes and he kidnaps Rukmini. And so this is how he displays that. And so, anyways, it's amazing if you look at that and see that, how Krishna is doing that and interacting with that. And let's see here, what else? So... So, anyways, you get that mic ready because I'm pretty much done. So, anyways, like I said, there's different intricacies of the pastime that could be brought out. Of course, little small points. When Rukmini sends that letter gives that letter, or the Brahmana sends the letter, she makes the point about meditating upon Krishna, becoming purified. So hearing Krishna's pastimes, they similarly purify oneself. And... also, too, another little detail. But when what is this? So when the family on Rukmini's side came, there was some animosity. They were a little like agitated when they came to Dwarka because of the whole thing that happened. But anyways, when they came to Dwarka, they kind of like settled out the situation, and everybody ultimately was happy in the end. So, anyways, that's all I got to say. If there's any questions or comments about that. I just wanted to speak a little bit about that, like that. So anyways, important to note, they're all transcendental personalities. And this is Krishna's pastime. So, Hare Krishna. Whoever wants.
Experiencing their own, like, I mean, as Krishna expanded himself in all the different, each house
So do they also know like he's in other like, you know, because like in the Rasa Lila,
Yeah.
and this is way above my like understanding, you know, but in the Rasa Lila, how like everyone thought that was like only the only one Krishna. Is that the same with like the how do you say?
Yeah, it seems like it. I don't know like exact reference, but it seems like, from my understanding, they all think that Krishna is just in their palace and only in their palace, and he's spending all day with me. So it seems like that. Because otherwise, if if Krishna's gone and he's never at the palace, then it's can get a little lonely. So that's my understanding. That they all think that Krishna's just with me, and they're very fortunate.
I'm not totally sure how to word the question, but you were mentioning how all the kings were completely enamored with Rukmini, and also how she was like around 12 at that time. And I was listening to a morning walk with Srila Prabhupada, and he was talking about like the importance of getting one's like young daughters married, and he was giving all these examples of people who were married around like 12 or even 7. And one of his disciples was saying, Srila Prabhupada, that's considered, I think it was Tamal Krishna Goswami, was saying that's considered very abominable in like Western culture.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I was just kind of wondering, like, I don't know, any kind of further explanation or something, because they didn't dive into it that much in that morning walk. So I didn't, if there was just any more details to help me understand the dynamic there.
What do you want to know exactly? Just like why like a girl should get married young, or?
Yeah, I guess it does sound a little bit odd. Like, I mean, I guess the getting married part makes sense, but it does also sound odd that these kings are like attracted to someone who's 12.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, I mean, it's just the thing is like, I guess might be a little bit difficult to understand in the modern context. So one thing is that people in previous times, if they were attracted to somebody or whatever, they would like, take care of that person and maintain them and things like that. And of course, there's like dharma and duty there and things like that. So these kings, like even though like they're sinful, they did in some respects, they were dharmic in that sense. Like we see with like Jarasandha, for instance, like, he was very respectful to brahmanas and things like that. And then they came, he was willing to give like so many things in charity. One of his main faults was that he was against Krishna. So the point to understand is like in previous times, people's hearts, they were contaminated, but they were in line with like Vedic Shastra and things like that. So the point is that like in Shastra, these things are like okay, like within parameters. And so anyways, they would like maintain these people and things like that. And then also too, it was understood like for different reasons that like it's better for like women to have kids at like a younger age and things like that. And they would, I mean, it wasn't like, what's it called? Anyways, but like to have like at a younger age and things like that. So that kind of like whole culture was there. And I think that's there in some parts of the world still also. Nowadays, it's, of course, like, I mean, like, society has like its standards and things like that. But on the inverse, people they'll say that like this is abominable for somebody to be married at such a young age. It wasn't that like, that these girls were just like going around with like different like men at such a young age. But they'll say that for someone to be married at such a young age. Anyways, they'll give different arguments that like this is like forced child marriage and this is like barbaric. But then what actually happens, and probably what we've both seen, is that girls at that young age of 12, 13, 14 or whatever are just going around with like different men here and there. So that's the alternative actually for those things. If the women aren't protected in society, they just, whatever, what would that be? There's like this 14-year-old girl and she's been with like 15, 20 guys by that age. And so that's according to the law, that's legal because she's not married to any of them and it was consensual and all these different things. So that should also be looked at in society. So, but in this time, they were attracted and then they would dedicate their life. And also too, I mean, just natural male psychology. I mean, it's not just everybody. No man wants to marry an ugly woman. And so it's generally the women are more beautiful when they're younger. well, most of the cases, you don't really hear about, well, that woman was in the peak of her beauty at 70 years old. Usually not. I can't really think of any cases of that. So maybe if she becomes rich and then she becomes more attractive. But anyways, there's just some things to consider. So that dharma was there, and then they would be cared for and protected for and things like that, and taken care of. Or in society, okay, they're not married, and then they get pregnant at 14, and then they have a kid, and then the guy doesn't want to take care of the kid, and then the mother also doesn't want to take care of the kid. So then this is the inverse. So those things should also be looked at also in like respect to like society. So it's a different outlook and different approach to life completely. There's a couple things about that. I could say more, but anyways, yeah, you had something.
Prabhu, just to like, I guess expand the point you're making a little bit, I actually read about this yesterday. In Mothers and Masters, His Holiness Bhaktivedanta Swami says that people they're not comfortable with, okay, so 16 years of age is consensual, like consensual sex is legal at the age of 16. So, but marriage is not allowed. So people are not comfortable with 16-year-old girls getting married. They're more comfortable with a 16-year-old girl, say, getting an abortion, or a 16-year-old girl getting pregnant before marriage. So they're comfortable with a 16-year-old girl getting pregnant before marriage, but they're not comfortable with that 16-year-old girl getting married, which is like an institution of security. So you could just see how backwards it is in that way.
Yeah.
And His Holiness Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj was making the point that the reason for girls getting married young, there's multiple reasons. One of them is, an unmarried woman is in a very anxious, distressed, difficult position in her life. And so getting married early ensures that the girl will have some facility to go into once she's old enough. And it's not that it's not that girls go into marriage immediately, but they don't even live with the husband at first. She starts off just serving the husband a little here and there, living separately. And then gradually they start to live together. And Bhaktivedanta Maharaj was also making the point that once girls hit the age of puberty, then it's generally when, she has children.
Yeah.
Because this is when the sex desire arises. And so this satisfies the natural sex desire, is to have sex safely within marriage for procreation. And then we see what happens nowadays is, the age of 16, whatever girls hit puberty, whatever, they just start having illicit sex.
Yeah.
It's natural to have sex at that early age, actually.
Anything else? Yes, Mountain.
Was Arjuna also with Krishna in this whole saga?
I don't think so, because when the marriage happens, it's described. I think the Pandavas were like there in Dwarka, and I don't remember reading anything or remember anything.
Was he involved with at least in the battle with Rukmi?
I don't think so.
Okay.
It just mentioned Balaram. He's like the only name that's given.
Okay.
So, you have anything, some details from Garga Samhita, Prabhu? Well, no, just in general, just with this whole pastime.
There was one thing, I haven't read this part of it yet, but I do remember my Guru Maharaj mentioning that, and I didn't read this one detail there in the Krishna book, but it was interesting. He was saying how when she went, or maybe it is there, but anyway, it was that when she went into this temple to pray to the demigod, Durga,
Durga.
There was the, like maid servants there, or like a
Brahman.
yeah, like a Brahmana lady, like setting up the whole thing, and like walking her through it. And then when it gets to the point where she's supposed to pray, the lady who's instructing her is telling her, okay, now you can pray to have Shishupal as your husband, so that everything goes nicely. She says, I pray to have as my husband Krishna, and then the ladies said, no! All the ladies there, they like freaked out.
Yeah.
So that was one detail that, yeah, that's the only
Yeah.
one I can remember
Thank
off the top
you.
of my head.
That is good. So, anything, Mataji? Okay. All right. Thank you. Srila Prabhupada ki. Srimad Bhagavatam ki.